Welcome back to Six Survival Diaries. As you all know, it's Velvet, and this episode will be referred to as The Entire Family Knew Except Me. You ever find out something about your own life and realize everybody else knew before you did? Because honestly, I don't know what's worse, finding out the truth or finding out how long people had been keeping it from you. This is a viewer submission. So, as always, names, details, and certain identifying information have been changed to protect everybody involved. But the situation itself, that's exactly how it was told to me. And I'll let you decide what you think. A few years ago, I was dating this woman, and from the outside, everything seemed normal. We weren't married, we weren't living together, but we'd been together long enough that I had met her family, her parents, her siblings, her cousins. Everybody knew who I was, and I thought they liked me. That's what made everything that happened afterward so crazy. Because looking back, I started realizing there were little things that didn't quite add up. Nothing major, nothing that would have made me think something's wrong. Just little moments. I'd walk into a room and the conversation would suddenly get quiet. I'd make a comment and somebody would give me this weird look. I'd ask what was going on and they'd say, nothing. You know that nothing, the one where you know it's not actually nothing? Yeah, that one. At the time, I ignored it. I figured maybe I was overthinking things. Maybe I was reading too much into people's reactions. And honestly, I trusted my girlfriend. So why would I assume her entire family was hiding something from me? Then one day, everything changed. I was talking to one of her relatives, just having a normal conversation. And somehow, the conversation turned toward my relationship. Nothing unusual, until they said something that made me stop. They mentioned something I had never heard before. At first, I actually thought I'd misunderstood. So I asked, wait, what do you mean? And they looked at me. Then they looked away. That's when I knew something was wrong. I asked again, and this time they went quiet. Not awkward quiet, the kind of quiet where somebody realizes, oh crap, I wasn't supposed to say that. And that's when it hit me. They weren't telling me something new. They were accidentally revealing something everybody else already knew. I went home that day with one question in my head. What the hell don't I know? So I started asking questions, carefully. I didn't want to accuse anybody of anything. I just wanted answers. But the more questions I asked, the stranger everybody started acting. My girlfriend, defensive. Her family, avoiding me. And suddenly, all those little moments I'd ignored started making sense. The quiet conversations, the weird looks, the sudden changes in subject, the way certain people would leave the room whenever I showed up. It wasn't in my head. They really had been talking about something. And somehow, I was the only person who didn't know. So eventually, I confronted my girlfriend. I asked her straight up, is there something you're not telling me? She looked at me and said no. No hesitation, no explanation, just no. Now, normally, I'd leave it there. But something about the way she said it didn't sit right with me. So I asked again, are you sure? She said yes. And that should have been the end of it, except it wasn't. Because later, I found out she'd been talking to her family about the exact thing I'd asked her about, behind my back. And that's when I realized this wasn't one person keeping a secret. It was everybody. Her parents knew, her siblings knew, other relatives knew. People I'd been sitting beside at family gatherings knew. And somehow, nobody thought I deserved to know. I can't even explain what that feels like, because you're not just dealing with the original secret anymore. You're dealing with the realization that every interaction you've had with these people might have been happening under completely different circumstances than you thought. Every dinner, every family gathering, every conversation, every time somebody looked at you funny, you start replaying it and thinking, was that because of it? Was that conversation about me? Did they know too? It makes you question everything. And then I finally found out what the secret actually was. It was something that directly involved me, something that could have affected our relationship, something I should have been told from the beginning. And when I finally heard the full story, I was angry, not just at my girlfriend, at her whole family. Because how do you sit around somebody, smile in their face, ask them how they're doing, and know something that could completely change their life? How do you watch that person trust you while you're keeping information from them? And the part that hurt the most was realizing how long it had been going on. This wasn't something that happened yesterday. This wasn't some last-minute decision. They'd had time, plenty of time. Time to tell me, time to explain, time to let me decide what I wanted to do. Instead, they decided for me. And that's when I finally understood why everybody had been acting so strange. They weren't protecting me. They were protecting the secret. And maybe they thought they were protecting my girlfriend too. But in the process, they completely destroyed my trust. I confronted her again. This time, there was no way around it. She finally admitted she'd known. She admitted her family knew. And she admitted she'd been scared to tell me because she didn't know how I'd react. I remember thinking, you didn't have to decide how I'd react. You just had to tell me the truth. Because once you start hiding something, you lose control of what happens when the truth eventually comes out. And it always comes out. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually somebody slips, somebody talks, somebody sends the wrong message, or somebody says one sentence they weren't supposed to say, and suddenly the entire secret falls apart. That's exactly what happened here. One conversation, one person saying something they weren't supposed to, and suddenly I knew everything, or at least everything they were willing to tell me. Looking back, I think that's what bothered me the most. Not just the secret itself. It was knowing that I had spent all that time around people thinking we had a genuine relationship, while they were all carrying information about my life that I didn't have. And maybe they thought keeping quiet was the kinder thing to do. Maybe they thought they were avoiding drama. Maybe they thought they'd eventually find the right time. But there is never a good time to find out that an entire family has been having conversations about you without you. Because trust doesn't just disappear when somebody lies. Sometimes it disappears when everybody else stays quiet. And once that happens, it's hard to look at those people the same way again. I don't think anybody wakes up thinking, today I'm going to destroy somebody's trust. It usually happens one decision at a time. One secret, one lie, one, don't tell them yet, until suddenly you're surrounded by people who all know the truth except the person who deserves to know it most. And if you've got a story you'd like to share, you can always send it to the email in the description. Names, details, and identities can always be changed to keep everything completely anonymous. Because sometimes the stories you carry silently are the ones people need to hear the most. Please make sure to like and subscribe so you can stay connected for all future stories. With the next episode, He Said He Was Single, Then I Met His Real Life, releasing August 13th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Real stories, real survival, real people.